I'm going to bring up our first speaker. At the last event, we had two speakers. Today, same thing. We're lucky and able to have two people join us to come and speak. So I'm going to bring up the first speaker. First speaker is Richard Kiernicki. And he's here, and he's been with us since the morning. And some things about Richard, I want you to know is that I'm borrowing from him today. Okay? Some of the stuff that I'm sharing with you, he taught me. And I'm happy to say he's a very, very, very good friend of mine. And he's also one of my mentors. And someone that I get to see for some reason whenever I like. He'll have me over for coffee whenever I like for some reason. Oh, okay, it's the projector shutting off. And I've learned a lot from him, guys. So, I want you to just pay attention. I want you to take notes, hang on every word that he says. This guy knows a lot. He's been around a lot. And he'll tell you about his journey, how he started, what he's done, and where he's come from. So please put your hands together. Help me welcome Richard Kiernicki.
Hey, Mike, thank you very much. I don't think I can squeeze all that in 15 minutes.
No, okay. You're right. No problem.
So do please keep me kind of on the time, because you know me, I can talk all day, right?
No problem. We'll have a timer.
Good morning. I guess it's actually more like good afternoon, because it just turned after 12, so I'll be a little bit more accurate, seeing as how this is an investment program, so we want a little bit of accuracy. I want to thank Michael for inviting me out. I enjoy working with people who have a commitment to their success, but not only to their success, to the success of the people that they serve, because that's the way that we're in business. We're here to help others. And sometimes we work for free, and other times we make a lot of money. The point is that if you're in service for other people, then you're going to have an outstanding life. That's what I personally believe in. If it's okay, I'd like to share a little bit of my history just to put things into perspective. I started in the investment business in 1981. I know, I was like 12. And one of the things in 1981 was that the investment industry, or the financial planning industry, really was just at the very infancy stages of its, let's just say, creation and its continued evolution, because we change, things change. Who would buy today a 1948 Plymouth, okay, versus a 2019 Sonata or something of that nature? I think you get my point. So in 1981, I started to work for a company after actually being a high school dropout and enjoying a career in automotive mechanics. I did a 7,750-hour apprenticeship. Took me 5 years. And the one thing that I learned and took away from that is I will always love cars, but I will never like working on them. Especially for doctors, because doctors were the guys who really didn't want to pay you what you were worth to make sure that they got to the hospital. But in 1981, my life took an interesting twist, and I met a gentleman who wanted to introduce me to a company called Investors Syndicate. And I sat back and I thought to myself, syndicate, man. I said, no, I'm not interested in a gun and a Cadillac. And he's like, no, you don't understand. It's not like that kind of a syndicate. It's a group. So I learned about this company called Investors Group. And I stayed there for about a year and a half, and I was talking to a gentleman about creating wealth for his family, and he looked at me and he said, this is amazing. What you guys do is amazing. And I said, thank you very much. I figured I was going home with the sale. And he looked at me and he said, who else does what you do? And I kind of thought, well, nobody, because I didn't know anybody. So I said, nobody. And he goes, come on, this is Canada. We have competition in every area of life here. So before I buy from you, I'm going to take a look at buying from somebody else or doing some research before I buy from you. And I would strongly suggest that you do exactly the same thing. I thought he had a good point. In fact, such a good point that I took 3 months off to start to understand the difference between what they call a captive agent and a broker, or an independent agent. And I realized that the captive workforce wanted you to learn what they wanted you to sell. They didn't really care at the end of the day about how you were treated or what advice you got. They just wanted you to sell a product. Anybody go to a bank in this room? Anybody go to banks? Do you feel like you're really loved and served at the bank with the best knowledge and the best information? No kidding, eh? But anyway, the other part is, how many of you have a financial advisor who's an independent? One person. So there's a contradiction in the room, isn't there? Right? We'd rather go to the big institution because we believe it's safe, versus the independent, like Michael and I, who work for small companies, but allow their clients a lot more choice and subsequently a lot more benefit. Well, I was having a great time in the business, and in 1987, something happened called the stock market crash. You guys are all too young, you don't remember it, so I'll be very brief with it. But the 1987 market crash was very similar to the crash of 1929. People weren't jumping out of windows, but the scope of the drop was phenomenal. And I was thinking to myself, what a great time to invest. Where are all the people? And nobody was showing up. I was doing an investment seminar, and a gentleman that I'd known in the industry from 1983 was walking towards me, and he yells in a very powerful voice, "Rick, nice to see you." And as he got closer, and I'm thinking to myself, oh geez, now I really want to talk to this guy. And he walked up to me and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I looked at him and I said, "What do you think I'm doing here? I'm doing the same thing you're doing here." And he says, "What's that?" I said, "Well, I guess I'm trying to get my next sale, my next car payment, my next mortgage payment, money in my pocket so I can continue to live and do this business." And he said, "Oh, well, I'm not here doing that." And I laughed and I thought, that's true, you're not, you're kind of different. And he looked at me and he said, "I've got a question for you that I'd like to have you think about for a moment." I said, "Sure." And he says, "How are you going to differentiate yourself from 3,500 financial advisors doing exactly what you do?" And I burst out laughing. I thought it was a really funny question. And he looked at me and he said, "No, seriously, this is the most important question I ask anybody in the business." And I said, "Look, seriously, if I knew how to differentiate myself, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. I'd be out there doing it." And he looked at me and he said, "That's amazing. Come and sit down with me. We must talk for a moment." And I said, "Sure, let's do that." And he said, "Richard, I'm going to just get right to the point. 97% of the people in our industry, they sell milk to their clients. I'm going to teach you how to sell your clients the cows." Bingo. It was easy for me to grasp that and understand it. And I said, "Yes, I'm going to join you." We were a $9 million company at the time that I joined in the spring of 1988. Fast forward to 2003, I retired with assets under administration at our firm of $13.2 billion. Okay, my ex-partner's name is Michael Lee Chin. I carry with me a little photograph or two with he and I have introduced numerous people to Michael because I want them to learn the truth about what goes on in the investment business. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about financial literacy, but probably in a way that you'll never hear it again, unless of course you start working with Michael. And I'm grateful to Michael because not only were his comments very kind, I appreciate the fact that I can come in here on Michael's behalf and speak to you guys and say, I've got 38 years of experience in my business. And I'm really grateful that I can hopefully stop you from making the wrong mistakes where you are today in your lives. Because the difference between the right information and the not so right information is a lifetime, and you can't get it back. Okay, you can't get it back. If I said to you that, hey, this is what's going to happen to you, like the typical financial advisor, and we're going to get you to X amount of dollars by the time you're 65. That's what you're hoping for. But what happens when you don't get there, or if you don't get there? You can't turn back the hands of time. Right? If you're 200,000 short in your portfolio, you're 200,000 short of income and a lifestyle that you anticipated that you were going to have. But you can't go back to 40 years of age to put more money in, can you? So take the advice that Michael talks about, take the advice that I talk about, put it together, and do an outstanding job for yourselves. Okay? Show of hands, anybody had a heart attack? If you had a heart attack, okay, what's the first thing that you want?
Protection.
I'd say an ambulance.
Yeah, I guess.
Right? So get in your ambulance, you want a competent medical team on the ambulance, right? Are you going to ask the medical team to stop at the library to get a book on cardiology? Are you going to ask the ambulance attendant for a discount cardiologist on your way to the hospital? No. What do you want? You want the best. Who said it? Greg? Thank you. Absolutely. You want the best guy who's going to take care of your health. I do not want to die at that moment. So what are you prepared to pay for it? And then what are you prepared to pay for your financial advice? So do your due diligence. Ask questions. Find out where the person has got their background, their foundation, the things that they believe in. I got 5 minutes left? Told you I could talk all day. So Michael wanted to give you guys a little bit of a tip as far as the investment side of things go. So I'm going to just kind of whip right into that. But as I do that, I'm also going to say one thing that Michael didn't quite say. He said knowledge is power, right? No, not exactly. It's only powerful when you act on what you know, right? Okay. Perfect. So now I'm going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to show you guys. Anybody know how a bank works? That's pretty much it. But I'm really a very simple guy. So what I want to do is I want to keep things really simple in the context of if you understand how the bank works, then guess what? You're going to understand how pretty much any other business works. Because Michael alluded to the options that you can invest in. But at the end of the day, a business that has a concrete plan, a solid history, and the ability to move forward is an outstanding opportunity for you to, i.e., buy shares in, or buy debt in, or buy bonds in, okay? So it'll help you make better financial decisions. So the friendly bank, okay, which, let's be honest, why do we go to the bank? They give us a guarantee, right? You walk in with your $100 and you say to the bank, I want to put this money away for a year. What kind of interest rate are you going to give me? And they said, we're going to give you 1%. And you say, okay. But when I come back to get my money, it's going to be there. And the bank says, of course it will. So after 1 year, okay, we'll get $101, correct? At 1%? Everybody clear? Beautiful. Now, when you go to the bank and they give you this guarantee, what do they do with your money? Okay, but you're too sophisticated, Greg, and you got to give somebody else a chance. Okay, come on. Who's got an answer for me? What does the bank do with your money?
Work with your money.
Sorry?
Work with your money.
Okay, you guys are really sophisticated. I'm just a simple guy, and it's Saturday morning. I usually really don't use the kind of things like this, right? So I'll just say this. They lend it to somebody else, right? So they take your money and they lend it out. And in this particular case, I'm going to say they're going to lend it out at 4%. Anybody got a mortgage? Right? So they might lend you money at 4% for a period of time. In this case, we're only going to keep it for 1 year. Right? Because we want to be comparable here. So at the end of 1 year, if the bank charges the customer that they lend the money out at 4%, how much money do they get back? $4. Right? Okay? Then they take the $4 and they pay you the $1 that they borrowed from you to use to make the $4. $4 minus $1 is $3. What's the ratio between $3 and $1? Where's the mathematicians in the room? You guys aren't really very much fun. Come on, a little life here, okay? 3 times more? Who said that? Okay, and you know what? This is the first time this has ever happened to me, because you're correct. 3 times more. Most people say it's 3%. Okay, most people say it's 3%. It's not, it's 3 times more. That means it's 300%. That's what the bank is making when you think, okay, they're paying you $1 and they're lending the money out at 4. They're making 3 times your money. You want to know the real insult? Because the industry is created for the industry, right? So the people who run the banks are called SROs, self-regulatory organization. And they turn around and they tell us, we only need to keep 10 cents out of every $1 as a reserve in our bank. Which means they get to take 90 cents, okay, out of every $1 and give people back another $4. Now we're over 2,000%. Okay, rate of return. Does that sound like an opportunity for you to lose money? No. So why are you afraid of buying shares of the bank and sharing in their profits? Simple. You want to know the best part? Check this. The $1 I received here in interest, right? If I'm in a 50% tax bracket, I only get to keep 50 cents on my $100 investment. Okay? The government is in cahoots with the business owner. Business owner of the bank is a shareholder who earns what? Dividends, right? Profits from shares of business. If you earn strictly dividend income from a bank because you buy preferred shares in that bank, okay, you get to live on $40,000 per year and pay no tax on Canadian dividend income. So if this doesn't upset you, or perhaps upset you but empower you, okay, this is the way for you to understand that there's no such thing as, if you will, risk, because the bank shows you how to make money. And when you become a shareholder in preferred shares, because you have to have a preferred share to have a consistent dividend, but common shares also pay a dividend at the end of the year from profits from the institution or the business. What you want to make sure is that you understand, in this case, the most important thing, and I'll leave you with this idea. It's not what you make. It's what you get to keep after tax and spend that makes all the difference. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Fred.
Anytime.
You're up for Richard again.